Welcome back to another Pokemon Throwback Thursday, where every Thursday morning we take a deep dive into a vintage set. We are going in complete order, so the set we're checking out today is Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Undaunted. And then, of course, we're going to be checking out some more cards that I think people are completely sleeping on from sets that are Sun and Moon and older. And we do have to give thanks to our video sponsor real quick, and that is Punch-Out Gaming. Punch-Out Gaming is my local game store that I go to, and it's the #1 game store in all of Minnesota. I've actually been to them all, and they have a card show coming up June 1st, which I will be there vending and recording. So if you guys are in town, definitely come check that out. All the links are in the description. But all right, let's get into it. Checking out Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Undaunted. Came out August 18th, 2010. 90 cards plus 1 secret rare. I graduated in 2010, so it was a long time ago. We got some decent cards, some decent holos, reverse holos. You know, we got Espeon in the set, Umbreon in the set. You know, we got a Raichu, Jolteon, Flareon, bunch of evolutions in here. And then for primes, we got an Espeon Prime, Houndoom Prime, Raichu, Cedar, Slowking, and Umbreon. So definitely one of the best selections of prime cards that we've gotten so far. And then we got 2 legend sets. We got the Kyogre and Groudon, and then we got the Rayquaza and Deoxys. And then we got the 3rd lithograph card. Let's hop to Pokedata. So the legend cards, you know, if they're super clean, they get pretty expensive. You know, they're going to be some of the most expensive cards in the set, along with Umbreon. A clean Umbreon sells for like $150 to $200 all day long. But the rest are honestly pretty affordable. Rayquaza and Deoxys Legend Top Raw, $113. The Kyogre and Groudon Legend Top, only $71. Espeon Prime Raw, $70. Houndoom, $60. But all right, let's actually get into some prices here. So we got a bunch of prime cards. We got the Espeon and a PSA 9 sold for $350. Slowking Raw near mint, $30. Raichu PSA 7 for $50. Raichu PSA 8 for $70. Espeon PSA 7 for $130. Another 7 Raichu for $50. A Raw Scizor for $21 plus $4 in shipping. Espeon PSA 7 for $88. We got a Raw Umbreon for $95. Houndoom PSA 9 for $180. Espeon Raw for $45. Umbreon PSA 8 $449. That's pretty crazy. Slowking 18. Scizor in an 8th, $54. Slowking in an 850. Looking for some different stuff here. So we got a bunch of Raw Espeons here, $70. We got a Raw Umbreon at $200. Raw Raichu at $83. Here we got some Umbreons that are Raw at $150. Ton of them at $150. One at $89, another one at $89. Again, you know, it all matters on the condition and stuff like that. But yeah, I think this is a very solid Umbreon. And then here are the legend cards. So we got the Rayquaza and Deoxys Legend Top Raw for $50. We got the Kyogre and Groudon Top for $75. We got the bottom for $60. We got a PSA 9 Rayquaza and Deoxys for $399. That's the top. We got the whole set of the Kyogre and Groudon, $225 raw. We got a PSA 8 Groudon at $130. We got the whole set of the Rayquaza and Deoxys at $260. Another Near Mint Kyogre at $85. We got another set of the Rayquaza and Deoxys sold for $105. Definitely doesn't look super clean. And then we have a Raw Rayquaza and Deoxys top, Near Mint, $160. So, I mean, these cards literally have like a 20 pop in a PSA 10. So people are always trying to hunt for those super clean cards to possibly get that 10. And we did have a sale with the Kyogre and Groudon top, PSA 10, $5,000. Pretty nuts for that. And then we do have the Japanese versions that sold for $1,050 for the entire set. And then the Espeon Prime, we had a sale a couple months ago in a PSA 10 at $2,090, also super low pop with these cards. And then for the Umbreon, we had a sale at $5,199 with a pop of $70 for that Umbreon. And then we got the Raichu here, which had a PSA 10 sale of $1,500. And then we have the booster pack here. We got a sale at $185, $200, $180, $250, $169, $185, $120. I still feel like some of these packs are a little undervalued for what's really in the set. I mean, we're talking legend cards and we're talking Umbreon and Espeon Prime cards. So I think it's kind of slept on a little bit, but you can basically get it between $100 to $200 for a booster pack. You know, a ton of these are going to be unweighed, but looks like we got one heavy pack here at 18.30 grams at $250. All right, next we got the booster box. So the last sale, which was a few months ago, was $8,500. It was 10 grand before that, which was just a week or two before. And then a year before that was $6,141. All right, let's get into some other cards here. So we're going to be checking out the tag team cards, specifically in the PSA 10. Now, I'm going to prove to you guys why I think these cards are pretty slept on. So no one can deny that the tag team arts are top tier. We got the Machamp here with only 792 in a 10, and it's selling for $505 in a 10. And then we got Rod 83, 31, 150, 130, 107. We got any PSA 9s in here. We got another 10 at 394. That was a couple months ago. And we got an 8 at $78. Now let's check out a couple more. We got the Grid Ninja and Zoroark Tag Team GX. Now, last sold in a 10, 544 and 510. The pop is only 778 in a 10, 527 in a 9. And then we got the Slowpoke and Psyduck Tag Team card with a pop of only 910 in a 10 and 728 in a 9. Last sold in a 10 is 600, 550, and then we got a 9 at 199. Next, we got the Reshiram and Zekrom GX Tag Team card with a pop of only 759 in a 10, 824 in a 9, and last sold in a 10 is 385, 375, and then we got a PSA 9 at 200. So if you notice, all the pops are below 1,000 in a 10. Now let's look at the Lugia V from Silver Tempest with a pop of 16,273 cards. There's 9,227 9s, 1,767 8s. Now last sold for the Lugia, $640. And then 600 before that, 525, 634. So this is basically the most expensive card out of the first 4 or 5 cards we looked at. And it's got a pop of 16,000 compared to the rest of the cards that have a pop below 1,000. So yeah, the Sun and Moon tag teams are truly rare in a PSA 10 compared to these cards, you know, from the Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet era. So me personally, I would rather put my money into a lot of the Sun and Moon tag team PSA 10 cards compared to these modern cards with crazy high pops. But let's check out a few more tag teams here. So we got the Blastoise and Piplup, one of the more expensive ones. So the pop on this is 1,044 in a 10 and 1,144 in a 9. There's 388 8s. Last sold in a 10 is 850. 890, 820, we got a 9 at 310, but this card just keeps going up in a PSA 10. Next, one of my favorite tag teams, because I feel like it's the most unique one, we got the Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia all in one card with a pop of 1,183 in a 10, 1,189 in a 9, and 441 in an 8. Last sold in a 10 is 1,200, we got a 9 at 363, and before that a 10 at 970, 999, and 960. And then this card raw is pretty expensive. I mean, we got 385, 345, 199, 232, 219, 350. Next, the most expensive tag team card, the Latias and Latios GX tag team with a pop of only 1,797 in a 10. I mean, that is not very many at all, especially comparing it to the Sword and Shield era or Scarlet and Violet era. And then in a 9, we got 1,242. In an 8, 587. And in a 7, 136. Last sold in a PSA 10 is $6,000. In a 9, 2,550. We got another 10 at 7,100 and another 9 at 2,500. We got raw at 15, 2,799, 15, 1,200, 1,200, 1,815, 1,500, 1,750, 800. It all depends on condition. Next, we got the Gengar and Mimikyu GX tag team, basically like the second most expensive tag team. Pop on this, 1,321 in a 10, and in a 9, 821, and in an 8, 267. Last sold in a 10 is $2,794. Before that was $2,126. And we do have a 9 at 970 and 950. And then raw, 450, 850, 1,000, 717, 398, 600, 550, 400. Next, we have the Raichu and the Alolan Raichu GX tag team with a pop of 1,073 in a 10, 938 in a 9, and 253 in an 8. Last sold in a 10, 780. We had another 10 at 684. And then raw, 260, 130, 277, 215, 100, 215, 99. Next, we got the Charizard and Breaks and GX tag team promo with a pop of 1,360 in a 10, 1,078 in a 9, and 215 in an 8. Last sold in a PSA 10 is only 378. In a 9, it's only $67. And then raw, this card's cheap, 65, 65, 48, 44, 45, 25, 23. Next, we got the Lucario and Melmetal GX Sun and Moon promo with a pop of 1,463 in a 10, 490 in a 9, and 78 in an 8. Last sold in a 10 is 180, 182, 200, and in a 9, 46. Again, this card's very cheap. Raw, 50, 40, 41, 30, 35, 31. Next, we have the Espeon and Deoxys GX tag team with a pop of only 707 in a 10 and 2,737 in a 9. We even have 1,079 8s and 155 7s. So this card is actually like really tough to grade. And it is going crazy. Last sold in a PSA 10 is $1,033. And what's crazy, this card was so cheap. I mean, in a PSA 10, it was $93 in 2022. Even in 2024, it was, $180 to $250, and it just kept slowly climbing. And then raw, 63, 120, 60, 75, 60, 70, 9 at 125, another one at 120. All right, next, we have the Gold Reshiram and Charizard GX tag team. So not as cool as the regular tag team alternate arts, but these are very unique gold cards. And the boxes just keep going up in price for these things. So I have a feeling they're going to keep climbing. And just look at the graph. It was $65 in a PSA 10 in September 2024. Now last sold in a 10 is $200. We got a 9 at 42, 40, and 40. And you can get this card raw cheap, 15, 19, 19, 18, 20, 25. But super cool. There's a Pikachu version also. And the pop on this is 1,737 in a 10 and 3,191 in a 9 and 1,166 in an 8. Some of these promos can be pretty tough to grade. Some of those boxes and tints and stuff do not hold the promos very well. And last on the list, this card technically has the lowest pop, and that is the Armored Mewtwo with a pop of only 280 in a 10, 1,605 in a 9, 916 in an 8. There's even more PSA 7s than there are 10s in the world at 362. There's even 274 PSA 6s compared to the 280 10s. There's even 144 5s, which is crazy. But this card was hanging out around $350 for a PSA 10 for the longest time. Now last sold $1,500. Do we have any more PSA 10s? We got another one at $1,700. We got a 9 at 185, 221, 199. And then raw, 57, 65, 53, 80, 84, 50, 53, 75. So if you guys see this card super, super clean, definitely do whatever you can to pick this card up, because in a 10, this is one of the lowest pop, still pretty modern cards that we have, and it's of an Armored Mewtwo, a super unique card. So that's why I wanted to show you guys this today, because a lot of these pops are so low, and I know a lot of people talk about pops now like it doesn't matter, but when we're talking low pops, that means everything. You can take the most random card from the most random set, and if it's got a super low pop, we're talking thousands in a PSA 10. So that's why I think some of these are a lot smarter pickups than some of the more modern PSA 10 pickups. But all right, that was today's Pokemon Throwback Thursday. Let me know down below your guys' favorite card from this list today, especially all these tag teams. I'm very curious. And then too, if you guys like this content, please make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a like and comment. If you guys want to support more, you can check out my Instagram or my YouTube membership. It's only 99 cents a month. I am starting to post more reels and shorts and stuff. We just had a reel on Instagram reach over 1 million views, so definitely check that out. And then too, if you guys want to watch my last Pokemon What If Wednesday, which was a super good one, I talk about if booster boxes will ever get below MSRP, click this video here. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.